Hi, I'm Haeleigh, an actor in LA. This is my friend Inde. She's a DP. She's going to help me film a self-tape.
First things first, let's take a tour of your self-tape setup.
Yeah. I have this really great pop-up backdrop, $30-ish. It's bright blue on the other side, gray on this side. I like it because you just pop it right down and it goes under the couch. This is the Great Video Maker ring light in the largest size they had. This isn't the tripod that came with it. I did some DIY to make it fit the way I wanted. And you can change the intensity, the brightness, or you can change the warmth from daylight to tungsten. So when I tape on my own, this is usually what my setup is like. I have the backdrop behind me and the tripod and camera pretty close to make sure that I can achieve that standard medium close-up that most casting directors like to see. A little bit of headroom up here, upper waist-ish ribs area, and then I like to frame out the black so that it's just like a clean, flat area behind me. The light is pretty intense because it's so close, so I either just have to tough it out or close my eyes in between takes. It feels like when someone takes a picture of you with the flash on and I just can't see for a little while after I tape. I do also have the windows open for some natural light to try to blast these shadows. Not super successful usually, sometimes depends on the time of day, but that is what I normally work with. So at this point, I'm usually ready to shoot. I've memorized my sides, I've done all my character work, I have a friend over to help me tape, or I use WeAudition, which is great. If I'm using WeAudition, I have another little setup with my laptop so that I can talk to the person. But yeah, this works for me. Now let's make it better.
Okay, so I've analyzed where we're at. I don't see self-tape stuff a lot set up, so let's fix it. This is great. I see multiple sources of lights everywhere. We know where our camera is, our distance, the lens we're on, which we'll have fun with, and the background. So let's break it down a little bit. One of the biggest things on set for the entire crew, especially for DPs, is creating a safe space. And this doesn't feel very safe to me only because of the proximity to the lens. How are you supposed to perform when it's this close to you?
It's very uncomfortable.
Okay.
It's very close.
And I definitely see a way of changing that. So let's start there.
Okay.
Hi. Welcome. So the first thing we want to pull back to is the distance we have in this room. And seeing as we have an entire room to play with, why wouldn't we? Gonna try to make this simple. But the longer the lens, the more flattering it's going to be on your face. And so let's mimic that with an iPhone. What I'm going to first do is I'm going to go from where it says 1x here. And if you don't have like a 2x lens, you only have the wide, that's fine. Instead, you're going to look at that 1x and you're going to zoom it in to 2. Great place to start. Now we're going to pull back to compensate for the amount that we zoomed in. So now that we've set up, we've gone almost double the distance and we've zoomed in quite a bit. It's actually going to be less intimidating because it's further away, but it's going to give you that same medium close-up that you wanted, Haeleigh. And benefit, it's going to make your features more compressed. Best part about this is that your nose, all of features you might be self-conscious about that are closer to the lens aren't going to be as magnified and bigger. And so if you want to have more of a beauty look, cinematographers will use longer lenses to do that. And now that's what we're doing by zooming in. We're magnifying and compressing the image so that you don't feel like you're too close. We've created that safe space. And as well, your features are actually going to be more aesthetically pleasing. Another tip, if you have the room, which we technically do here, and this is vertical at the moment, so if you're doing a medium close-up and you don't need to full body slate, you could actually completely change the orientation of this so that you have more width, which means you can pull this baby back. You can zoom in even more as long as you're framing out the corners. You could keep it at 2 if you need to. And then you can get rid of the shadows, which Haeleigh was already talking about having an issue with. So if you got rid of the shadows because you're not directly casting the light on it, you have more fall off, then you're in a better position to have an evenly lit backdrop without having weird shadows on the back. Okay, so we've changed up the space using the width of the room. we still have the same sources. We have natural light and we have your ring light, and we are good to self-tape. We have a medium close-up, but the thing that we're missing, which is great, is the shadows. There are no shadows being cast. The only one you're going to actually have cast on the back is the one that's directly in front of us, but it'll mostly be hidden because obviously it's like projecting us and it's a pretty hard source. So you'll see a little bit of a shadow, but it won't be as like annoying and change the consistency of the backdrop itself. And one of the other things that I think is really exciting is you have that safe space built, because now, Haeleigh, would you feel safer?
There's so much space.
So much space. It's not like before we were here, before this is all of the space we were using. Mm-hmm. So now if you think about it, if you were to like lean forward and stuff like that, the accent of like how big some of your features are is going to be minimized because we're further away, but we're still able to maintain a medium close-up. So big rule, if you want to eliminate shadows without feeling like this is way too technical, is distance yourself from your background. That's literally it. Distance yourself from your background, and the likelihood of having a direct shadow on the backdrop is going to go down. Make sure as well that the further you pull back your light, that you have to compensate with the brightness that's actually coming out of that light, because it'll have less of an effect if it's further away, obviously. So just remember to turn up that light. Okay, so now we have Self-Tape Setup 2.0 in Haleigh's apartment. How do you feel?
I feel amazing. I'm so stoked. I've been just perpetually frustrated every single time I have to tape because the shadows annoy me, and I feel so close to the camera, and I don't enjoy myself when I'm taping, and I think this is going to be really great. We really did make it better.
Yay!